the best possible shots of this tiny tortoise. And we're going to leave it be. We don't want to cause it too much stress, but happy to introduce it to all of you, and we're going to send you across to the lion.
Yeah. Right, well everybody, look at that high action here, the Nkuhumas pride. Beautiful lions lying here, and they're just moving a little bit as the rain, or not the rain, the wind from the storm starts to roll in here. My hat is on backwards because the sun is at my back. I'm not trying to be a gangster. A couple of really interesting things about these lions. Look at the size of the paws. Incredible, powerful paws, those things, with the sheathed claws. And those claws will do a tremendous amount of damage to any potential prey that there might be. And also see the back of the black ears. And they're just lying here quietly. This is what lions do for 20 hours of every day. We're going to head across to an ad break just now. And when we do come back, we'll see you with these lions. See you just now. Right, so for those of you on the internet watching, I know that the Alice in Wonderland style advert breaks, where they're not actually real, must be slightly confusing, but just to reiterate, we are rehearsing for Big Cat Week on Nat Geo Wild next week. We'll be doing 3 primetime shows. The times, I've slipped my mind for now because of all the different time zones in the States. And we'll also be doing 7 3-hour shows, daytime shows, for Nat Geo Wild in the States. Now, that doesn't make any difference to you watching on the internet at wildsafariLIVE.com. If you happen to be in Australia or Finland or the Philippines or where else have we had from? Bryan, Switzerland, Holland, Fiji. South Africa, Fiji we've even had. You can watch as you do normally. Nothing will change. There will just be the odd slightly disconcerting announcement of advertisements every so often. So that's Junior. 3.5 years of him. Still living with mum and dad. Well, not dad. So still living with mum and sisters. And, well, I suppose that's a little bit like human beings these days. They don't leave home until they really are shoved out. And by 3.5 years, he should be on his own. He should be searching for a coalition mate so that he can be with them and try and set up his own territory one day in about a year or two's time. But at the moment, he's clinging steadfastly to home, and every time the Birmingham boys come anywhere near here, he scarpers off, and they disappear, and he comes back to join his pride. Now, it's so lovely to hear from the old hometown. I suppose town is not really an accurate description of where, Colin, you're from. You're from Johannesburg. Well, the economic hub of Africa, really. Lovely to hear from you. You want to know what's happened to the Birmingham boys. The Birmingham boys, for those of you who don't know, are 5 young male lions who've just come into this area. They chased out the Matimba males, 2 magnificent males, one of whom was Junior's father over there. They looked a bit like him. All lions look slightly like each other. And the males have gone, they've scarpered off to the south, and the Birmingham boys have pretty much taken over, Colin. I'd say that they're almost, they've taken over. Yesterday, however, we got word that a coalition of 9 males, called the Skybed males, is now making their way in from the south. 3 of them were on, in fact 5 of them I think were on Buffelshoek yesterday. So the Birmingham boys, having looked like they were settling in, they've been mating with various prides around the area. The Styx pride, I think 1 or 2 members of, there's the thunder rolling across the plains. Such a wonderful sound. So, Colin, they've mated with the Styx pride, they've mated with the Nkuhumas pride. I'm not sure that any of those matings will result in cubs. Certainly there will be a period when these lionesses will go into something called anestrus, which is a period of kind of a false estrus, where they show all the signs of estrus, but then they don't fall pregnant, they don't ovulate. Sorry, just quickly, Bryan, that's the amber-eyed female. Look. She's got those orange eyes. We haven't seen her for a while. See how orange her eyes are, everyone? That lioness came right up to the door the other day, and she looked me in the eyes, stared into my soul. Thankfully didn't find too much wanting, and so she didn't eat me. Lovely to see her. She's a really iconic lion of this area. So we're going to go back into the TV broadcast, everybody on the internet. So when I welcome you back, don't think that you've stepped through a time warp and gone somewhere by mistake. Welcome back, everybody. We're still with these lions, amazing, beautiful animals, and you can just hear the thunder rolling in across the plains. You haven't missed anything. One or two of them have rolled over. And we're just going to quickly have a look at one or two things. The female in the middle there, if we look at her, you can see the sun is at the perfect angle. Sorry, down a bit, Brian, the one with the sun on her face. You can just see the sun is at the perfect angle. You can see the eye reflecting that little white stripe underneath, which helps them to hunt at night. It reflects light into their eyes as they walk through the darkness of the night. And then let's just quickly have a look at Junior's mane. There he is. He's called Junior. He was dubbed so by our faithful internet audience who have watched him grow up from a little cub. And that's a 3.5-year-old mane. It will become a lot more impressive as the years go on. And by the time he's 8, it will be really impressive. Now, as this storm rolls in here, let's get an aerial view of it with Drone Commander Andrew Francis. I'll see you just now.
What an incredible sight. A magnificent, magnificent aerial view of that storm rolling in. Those long-awaited rains that are coming towards us, and you can actually see that rain off in the distance. This tool that we have, this drone flown by Andrew Francis, is an extraordinary piece of equipment for us to see Africa from above. And as he pans that camera down to be completely... He's just got a beautiful shot there of the Viatella waterhole there, and he's going to go in, going down, 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 and that white sort of area in the middle there is a catfish graveyard, the African sharp-toothed catfish, who unfortunately didn't make it through. They do have the ability to escape these drying pools and walk overland or crawl on dry ground to another water point, but a lot of these didn't make it. They also are able to survive in shallow mud for very long periods of time between rainy seasons, but unfortunately these ones didn't make it through and are in the great catfish graveyard. Now, over the next few days, I'm going to go down there and grab one of those skeletons, because you know I love skeletons and skulls, and I'll bring one of those up to show you, and we can have a real good little look over it under the microscope. But what a great, great vision. Andrew is just flying that beautifully, as he always does, and gives us an aerial view, our bird in the sky, and coming back up now to have a look at that magnificent, magnificent view back over. We've got a hippo in that pond up to the right end of the screen there, and then the storm is a-coming. But wow, how beautiful is that? That hippo just down below. We're going to cross now to Pieter, who is going to be arriving at Buffelshoek Dam any second. I think he's just arriving on the dam wall right now, so I'll come back to you soon, but we're going over to Pieter right now, and goodbye, and that storm is coming our way.
Well guys, that's the background we were talking about. So Wium and I were just talking, saying, wouldn't it be great to see Mvula, the male leopard who's named after rain, and we'd like to see him in sunlight with that sky in the back. But unfortunately we don't have Mvula here, but we do have some other interesting characters down at the waterhole. This is Buffelshoek Dam. I'm going to try and get that dark sky behind you, behind it, sorry, for us to see. I believe you just had a beautiful bird's eye view of the storm that's coming from the air. I'm sure it must have been spectacular. This is the view I wanted to show you. Look at that, stunning. Beautiful light in the foreground, ominous storm approaching from the south, and a little bit of wildlife in the water. Egyptian geese, we've seen these guys since the beginning. I think the other day they said there used to be 7 goslings, there's now 4. And I'm sure these goslings and their parents, their 2 Egyptian geese, they must know these hippos quite well. They've been spending a lot of time around each other and, well, literally in the same pond. That was the hippo's tail swishing there. When hippos defecate, they sort of swish their tail back and forth. They are quite cute. These hippos are making the most of the mud. If this dam dries out, which I don't think it will, I think we'll get enough rain to fill up again before this is totally dry. But if this was to dry out, that area that the hippos are in now, look at the oxpeckers flying in, that area would be the deepest puddle because they're moving around there all the time. They're actually sort of slowly moving the mud out and creating a little pool for themselves. In a way, you could compare it to the sort of the last remaining water in Gari Dam or in front of Boyatella, where you were just looking at those bones or the skeletons from the catfish. Eventually there has to be the last water before it dries. Look at that sky. Awesome. Thank you so much, Donna. Just getting some information back. I'm going to go a little bit closer to these geese. Maybe get you a better view of them. Just coming back to the question earlier about Birchall and who he was and what he did. Donna just given us some information back. Donna, thank you very much. He returned to England in 1815. Just going to give you a closer view of these little goslings. They are very cute. And he had over 50,000 samples of different species. That's amazing. I'm sure these geese would have been one of them, perhaps. See, the dates were much earlier than we were. For some reason, I thought 1915. So 1815, I mean, that's amazing. That's 200 years ago today, give or take a few days. Yeah, imagine Africa then. Amazing that he managed to travel around for so long and survive between malaria and tsetse flies and people that would have many of them not seen Westerners before at that stage. Would have been an amazing place to explore. Very peaceful setting, yeah? Birds calling. Quite a bit of wind. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Elaine. A little bit more information on Mr. Birchall. Elaine just saying that he covered over 7,000 kilometers. That would be, let me say, if you were to go, you would almost go across. So if you go from Cape Town to us and back, and you could almost do that again, that would be about 7,000 kilometers. That's the area that Mr. Birchall covered in that time. Obviously, he didn't have any roads or highways or anything whatsoever to move by then. So, yeah, that would have been true exploration. I'm wondering what else to show. There's a subtle little stalk here. It's just a little bit far. What do you think, Wium? Get a look at that. There were 2 when we arrived. The one just flown off. It'll probably come back again. Beautiful bird. And they catch little things around the water, fish and frogs and so on. I think this might surprise us still today, the storm. You have this sort of wind before the storm coming in, and it's coming closer. It's not going to catch us sort of in the next 5 minutes. Certainly, I think it might be upon us before the end of drive. Look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. Well, guys, enjoy the walk. And we're going to keep an eye on the storm. And we'll see you in a bit again.
So, if you look through those bushes, you'll notice there's a Cape buffalo, a big bull, not too far away from us. And Jeandre and I nearly got ourselves into a little bit of trouble, actually. We don't have the wind in our favor. It's blowing straight towards him. And I think he did detect us. We were probably about 20 meters closer ahead when we first saw him, and then immediately backed up. And that's the first thing you should do whenever you encounter a dangerous animal. And don't get me wrong, even though this may look like a cow, it is incredibly dangerous, especially the old bulls, especially when we as humans are on foot in their home. So we're gonna maybe just wait for him. It looks like he may take a few steps out there. Here we go. Oh no, he's on the go slow. He's just stopped there, but we just wanted to give you an idea of what we were dealing with and a bit of the excitement as we were retreating from this potentially dangerous situation. And James is on standby to receive you, so we're going to send you back to him and loop ahead of this buffalo. See you later.
There comes the storm, everyone. It's rolling in. The sun is already starting to be blotted out by the grey clouds. It's so exciting. We're still with the lions, and a couple more things to show you before they do anything too drastic like get up and then sit down again. The one with her head up has got an almost completely black nose. Now that completely black nose is indicative of her age. It's quite a nice way to age lions. And so I would put her, it's normally completely black by age 6, so she's probably about 5 years old. And then the one just in front of her and to the left, you can see her nose, is almost bright pink. And given her size, I'd say she's probably about 2 years old. You can see totally pink. Oh, very tired, having a bit of a yawn. That noise you heard was the sharp inhalation of air as she yawned. And then to the right of her is amber eyes. Now, there she is. And if we look at her nose, oh, high action here before we go to the nose. Bryan, look at this. I am being slightly sarcastic when I say high action. When it's hot like this, there's very seldom very high action with the lions, but it's still lovely to spend some time with her. This is the second time this female has got up and moved to this area. It's a very lovely question from a 13-year-old called Riley. Hello, Riley. Tell us where you're from next time you speak to us. It'd be really nice to know which part of the world you're talking to us from. And Riley, you want to know how long do lions grow for? What age are they at full size? Riley, a male reaches his peak mass at about 8 years old, and he'll stay that height as long as he's got enough to eat. I'm just going to watch this lion quite carefully. Like I said, it's the second time she's got up and moved there. But Riley, so a male about 8, I'd say a female probably around 5 to 6 years old, she'll reach her top mass. Let me just get my gangster head out of the way. And there we can see that lion. She's looking for something. She got up, she looked like she was stalking. Now she's panting. That's pretty normal for the heat. It almost looks like she's going to be sick. Looks a bit green about the gills. That one, of course, is just exhausted by the thought of even thinking about moving. Lions will sleep for 20 hours of the day. But you can see they're moving around a bit. They're actually, quite astonishing. If you've never watched lions before, this is a particularly active pride at the moment, and I think that's got a lot to do with this weather blowing in. They will sense subtle changes in the atmosphere, I think, probably far more than we do. Bryan said to me today, my finger's sore. I think it's going to rain. I looked at the sky and I told him he was stark raving mad. Bryan's finger doesn't lie, and I'm pretty sure that these animals here are able to sense. Here she comes. She's coming back now. I'm pretty sure they're able to sense weather changes probably long before we're able to. Now, I know that you were chatting about John Birchall the other day, and he was a fascinating character, not if you happen to be an animal from the area. There are a number of species named after him, 5 on this reserve to be exact. No, 4 probably on this reserve. Some of them very unusual that we see. So why don't you try and find out which mammals and birds named after him we would see on this reserve. That'll keep you busy for a little while these lions are waiting for the storm to come in. But the interesting thing about William Burchell is that apparently he was a very fastidious biologist, so he was very detailed, kept very detailed notes, wrote enormous numbers of pages in 2 volumes of his books, and had enough for a third one, but he unfortunately committed suicide before that could happen. And he was out here between 1810 and 1815. He collected 50,000 specimens. Now, by collected, that is euphemism for killed, either stuffed or pinned, depending on whether it was an insect or a mammal, and then took them home. He loaded just about an entire ship full of specimens and took them home to London and described various aspects of Southern African biology. He also collected over 20,000 insect species on a later trip to South America. So he was, he was a voracious collector of the creatures of nature. We don't try not to do too much collecting anymore, and we try to do a lot more observing when we do stuffing and pinning. I would like you to look at here, Bryan. See if we can get a look at her teeth there. Ooh. Look at that. Let's look at her teeth. Now, Jeandre, I'm very pleased that you are happy to see the Nkuhumas pride with Junior again. I agree, Jeandre, that it's nice to see him. I'm not convinced it's in his or the pride's best interests to be here. Anyway, here he is, so Jeandre, that's great. And Carla, you've just jumped on game drive. You're late for the afternoon drive. That, of course, is almost unacceptable, but we'll forgive you this time round. And you want to know which pride we're looking at. We're looking at the Nkuhumas pride after a prolonged absence. They've come back to Djuma, which is just lovely. 5 lionesses, 1 young male who's 3.5 years old. He's clinging desperately to the home life to which he's become accustomed, not wanting to go out and make a living for himself. And as I was saying a little bit earlier, a little bit like the youth of today, you know, and they're reticent to go off on their own. Not sure if his mother feels like mothers of today. Have a nice look at the front paw there. I don't know if you can get that, Bryan. I don't know. Yeah, you can. Just look at the pads. And interesting, when you're tracking lions, good grief, sounds like there's a bulldozer coming in here. Anyway, if you're tracking lions, that's the kind of shape you're looking for on the ground, of course. It is a particularly obvious one, and simply because of its size. No claws. You can see very clearly there that there are no claws sticking out. There are, of course, claws in the feet, just like your house cat. It's incorrect to call them retractable claws. They're protractable. Retractable would mean that they stuck out all the time and that they could then be pulled back in. But in the lion's case, in the case of your house cat, their resting position is inside, and they can actually push them out. They've got a tendon and a muscle that pushes out the claws. Now, Junior's foot there, I mean, he's almost full grown. If you come back to me, Bryan, let's just show the size of it. It's probably about that big. That's how big that lion's foot is. Isn't that amazing? Now, Jack, you want to know where on Djuma we are. I'm not sure how well you know it, Djuma, at least Jack. Jack, we are sitting on the northwestern corner, just about on the northwestern corner. We're sitting on a place called Sandy Patch, or just east of a place called Sandy Patch, which is on the way to the sort of northwestern corner of the reserve. There's a nice clearing just around here, and Brent Leo Smith found these lions on foot today with 2 great trackers. And Deb, they are quite far from the Djuma waterhole. You want to know where they are in relation to the Djuma waterhole. Quite a long way, Deb, probably about 2 kilometers away, just over a mile. I just have had a report from the inimitable Brent Leo Smith that there are large hailstones falling at Ulasaba, which is not far to the west of here. If it does start to rain, everybody, we're not going to hang around. We're going to head straight for home. We especially, I mean, quite apart from the fact that we don't wish to have a concussion from a golf ball-sized pieces of ice plummeting at terminal velocity from the sky, we also need to be very cognizant of our equipment, given that we're going into Big Cat Week come Saturday. Anyway, we'll sit here a little bit longer with these lions, and if it starts to get much too windy, we're going to pull out of here. We're going to another ad break just now, everyone. We'll stay with these lions for the moment, so don't go anywhere if you're watching on TV, and if you're on the internet, stay with us. This lioness, again, like I say, high action. We'll stay with her, see what she does while you're away. And we'll see you just now. Should we go? I'm just a bit nervous about so everyone on the internet, we'll just give you a quick look at the sky again. There's some pretty big stuff coming in, and like I say, a lot of reports of hail coming through. So we won't hang around for too long. Just trying to see here. Now, brilliant question, of course, which I should have actually spoken about already. Mr. Moustache, you are on holiday in Iceland. I suppose being Mr. Moustache in November is an excellent thing, Mr. Moustache. I think you need to send us a picture of your whiskers. You want to know what you're doing in Iceland in winter. I couldn't possibly imagine, but there you are. I'm glad you're joining us for some heat out here. You want to know how the animals will react to the rain and to possible hail. You know, hail's not that common in this area, but they will react badly. I mean, there's nothing really to shelter under. They could go into some thick bush, and I suppose that would break the fall. If you were to lie under a piece of stick like that or a fallen tree, it might shelter you and break the fall of some of those hailstones. But I mean, a hailstone of that size falling from the sky is going to be doing roughly 220 kilometers per hour. That is about 130 to 140 miles per hour. If that hits a tree like that, unless it hits a branch exactly dead on, it's going to go straight through it, and it's going to cause some damage. So hail does kill animals from time to time, but it's not hugely common in this area. And Ulasaba, where the hail is falling, is quite far to the west of us, and the difference in rain from the western Sabi Sands to the east, we're sort of eastern Sabi Sands, is quite profound. I mean, it's quite pronounced, and that's just because the further away from the mountains you get, the less it does tend to rain. The lions don't seem to be too perturbed about Brent's report of hail, however. They've now gone into the deepest possible slumber. One of them, of course, is I can't believe I haven't sort of zoomed in on this, is cradling some elephant dung. She seems to be lying there. There we go, beautiful. Nice teddy bear to be cuddling there. All right, we're going to assess the storm, and while we're doing that, let's head across to Hayden. He's got a fantastic sneak to show you. See you just now.
Fantastic to have those lions, hey. Now, bushwalks, I love them. Bushwalks are absolutely incredible. It's really connecting to the bush and that small stuff, the fine detail, the small things that really matter too. And yesterday, I have to say, was probably one of the most beautiful sequences of reptile footage, live, I might say, live with Brent Leo Smith and Jeandre, with that magnificent male boomslang. Incredible. I was sitting here at one point, and the boomslang's head actually filled my screen. I thought we've captured that, and it was with him for so long. It was a beautiful sequence, and I've been talking about it all night and all day. Snakes are incredible creatures. You know what? They've received a lot of flack over centuries and centuries and centuries. And you know what? If you understand a little bit more about snakes, you have a tendency to understand where they fit. They're very, very important in the ecosystems and food chains. Now, yesterday we showed you this skin, a sloughed skin, and slough just is a term for meaning that it's shed its skin. It's a skin or half a skin from a Mozambican spitting cobra that lives in the roof of our research centre where we live. And that's quite nice. It was probably about twice as long. Okay, maybe a little bit longer. Want to see a snake? That's nothing. Come and have a look at this. That's a snake skin. Look at this. This is a skin that is from Africa's biggest snake, the southern African python. Now, this is this is a slough snake skin as well. Try and say that really fast. Slough snake skin. And they shed their skin. They shed their skin many, many times when they're young, but as they get older, they start to slow down and may not do it as frequently. Now, when it does happen, it's basically shedding dead cells or dead skin, and they'll rub the end of their nose first, and it starts to break off, and it comes off like a sock. Now, they've also got a modified scale that fits over their eye, and sometimes you can find that on the skin as well. If you come and have a close look at this, you'll see the skin on the top, that beautiful pattern. You may have seen a picture of one of these African pythons, these southern African pythons. But as I turn it over, these ventral scales are very, very important. They're the gripping scales, the scales that a python or a constrictor uses. This is a non-venomous snake, okay? And I really wanted to measure this snake for you, and I'm going to, but I'm not going to do it today. What I am going to do tomorrow, when it's probably a little less ominous on the weather front, I'm going to lay it outside there and put small rocks on it. And with my trusty piece of equipment here, because everyone needs one of these, I'm going to measure it for you because I haven't measured it yet, and these reach up to 5 to 6 meters long and can take small antelope. I've actually been in Cameroon where we've seen one that had swallowed a duiker, and a duiker is a small antelope, probably about so big, 40 kilograms, maybe 30 kilograms, but they can take probably animals much bigger than that as well. So, incredible thing. I'm going to measure it tomorrow for you. We are going to pack the tent up just for the simple reason there's so much equipment in here, and the weather prediction is hail and storms, and we really can't take a chance. So I'm going to leave you. I'm going to pass you over to Scott on Bushwalk. Maybe you'll find us a southern African python. See you later and have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow.
Well, sadly, we haven't found a python. That would be incredibly exciting. And I'm glad you at least got to see that skin with Hayden. That must have been quite interesting. Look at what we found, though. It's an emerald spotted wood dove's nest. And it's the first time I've ever actually seen one of their nests before. I guess there's not a hell of a lot to see there, but there is one egg in it. You'll probably find the other 2 or 3 eggs, which would have probably been laid, have fallen out in the stormy, windy weather we've been experiencing. So not the most sophisticated of architects, the emerald spotted wood doves, but at least we've got an idea of how they will raise their young, and hopefully when we're on another bushwalk we'll be able to check in on this nest. Now, the bad news is that the reports of another dove nest, the laughing dove nest on Rebecca's Road, has got no more eggs in it, so we're not going to be able to continue following that one, and we will hopefully be able to find you some more. The interesting thing is that birds will often have more than one clutch of eggs or chicks in a season, especially if it's a good season. So we're going to send you across to James. Jeandre is in an incredibly difficult position in amongst the branches, holding the camera in the right spot to get you this shot. So well done, Jeandre, and over to James.
Awesome. Seeing a bird's nest with an egg in it or a bird's nest with a chick in it is always, I don't know, it's just one of those things that's always nice to see. And that, of course, is the beauty of being on foot, is you can look around and scratch around for these smaller things, and you can see the big things. I mean, Scott was looking at buffalo earlier. In fact, I'm not sure exactly which area he's walking in. I'm just wondering if it's not maybe some of these same buffalo. There's 3 bulls here. This one obviously down here. The other 2 we're just waiting for. They're off to the right here. We can show you a little bit, but quite a funny angle as well that I've driven down here. That's quite a big bull. This guy specifically, his horns are sort of above the average size for this area. And he should pop out down the bottom here in the next minute or two. We are not far from camp, as Hayden has told you, and as I'm sure we'll mention a few times in the course of this afternoon. Behind us, if I'm looking back the way now, we'll show you in a bit. But there you can see, Wium can show you right up into the sky. The clouds are moving closer. We've also had reports further south from here, another lodge called Ulusaba, actually Sir Richard Branson's place. They had some big hailstorm, or big hail pellets falling there, or hailstones actually is the right word. Minutes ago. So we're keeping a very close eye on this, both for the rain, but hail is not something we want to get stuck in. But that's the benefit of having our camp right in the middle of the bush. We can have these animals, well, sometimes in camp even, not the buffalo, but we've had leopard in and around camp. Obviously all the big things come around, the ellies and so forth. There you can just about hear a bit of thunder in the distance. Sorry, I'm just looking how you came out here. Oh, it's a nice big bull. There's that big guy now coming out. It's actually beautiful, just tranquil scene. That bull there on the right hand side, easy to recognize with his left horn that's been broken off. And just a beautiful message coming through. Thank you so much, Sue, letting us know that obviously tomorrow being Thanksgiving in the US, she's very grateful for what we do here, and that's we in capital letters, WildEarth. What WildEarth is doing out here and sharing the wildlife and the little stories and facts and the passion of wildlife for wildlife. Sue, I think I can speak on behalf of everyone to say, firstly, it's a big pleasure, it's a big privilege, and also thank you very much, because again, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. So we can all have a good Thanksgiving Day tomorrow. What's that sound?
Chainsaw.
Is it? Kathleen and Heidi, good afternoon. Sorry, just hearing a strange sound in the distance. Sounds like a chainsaw, but I'm guessing is maybe a big tree that's been pushed over a road somewhere. Sometimes it's pushed in such a way that you can't actually have vehicles coming and going, not off-road vehicles like what we drive, but from the lodges. Maybe they're just clearing the road. Kathleen and Heidi, you guys were just wondering if we know which leopard it was last night at the Juma camp. It was Mvula, the rain. We were just talking about him earlier, approaching Buffelshoek Dam, saying how nice it would be to see him this afternoon, considering that it's very, very likely that we're going to see rain. We're going to stick with these buffalo a bit. This is a pretty area as well that they're in. And even though we didn't see specific tracks coming in here, but just little riverbed or ravine drainage line. Drainage line is what we use for this. Running down this way, this is one of the areas that Karula quite likes to move into. And we did have herd tracks as well this morning, heading in this general direction along Twin Dams Road. So unless, of course, the rain stops us from exploring more this afternoon, I am hoping that we might find her later on. For those of you that missed the AM safari, had a beautiful view of shadow this morning. Although, come to think of it, very few of you would have seen it. It was during rehearsal. Sorry, I'm so used to the drives being with everyone. We had a great view of shadow. She's alive and well, looking fantastic. Looks like she's eaten not long ago, maybe yesterday or the day before. Saw her at Aratuza area close to between first and second windmill. So she's all good. And these buffalo obviously enjoying the new green grass since the rain. So we're going to let these buffalo do their thing. I want to explore a little bit down this riverbed just to see what it looks like now. As I said, I'm hoping that in the next week or so we might find Karula here. And in the meantime, I think you can go back to those lovely felines with James. Maybe it's getting a little bit, I mean, it's not cooler, but there's a bit of a breeze and the clouds moving in. Maybe it's a bit cooler, maybe the lions get active. So enjoy it. See you back in a bit.
Well, we're still here, everybody. We haven't been obliterated by an enormous hailstorm, nor have the lions. They haven't moved at all. I think one of them rolled over. We got very excited, nearly called for a crash cut to us, but then they lay back down again. Junior is still in sweet repose. Now, I made mention of the fact that I thought he was on borrowed time, perhaps shouldn't be here anymore, overstaying his welcome. Fairly derogatory comments about him, which I know have resulted in some fairly vociferous defense in his case from the Twitterverse. Why I say he shouldn't be here for two reasons. Firstly, he's in danger. The Birmingham boys are around, those skybed males are around. The two Salati males have been seen coming onto here, and he's been spending time in their territory north of us and into the eastern or western sections of the Kruger, which is just east of us. And what that means is that they won't tolerate a young male like this around. He could join up with other nomadic males of around about his age. They might accept him, and then he could sort of fight for a territory of his own. The second reason is that he started trying to mate with his mother, first of all, and with his sisters. Now, I know in human society this is considered quite possibly the most distasteful thing in the world. Oh, let's quickly go to a monitor lizard, and I'll tell you Junior's story just now.
Well, there was a bit of a sudden jump back and forth, but we were just moving along, and I saw this sort of stick that moved. And this is the kind of thing that you can really enjoy when you're on the walks. But on the drives, you also see these smaller things sometimes, and if it's in a position to look at, you can do so. This is actually a monitor lizard that you typically see closer to the water. I know at Gari Dam, down in front of Wetela Lodge, we see water monitors often, also known as Nile monitors. And while we're looking at a monitor lizard, I'm just looking at that tongue flicking out. Essentially, that lizard is tasting the air, same as snakes do. And that made me think of that incredible sighting with Brent yesterday with the boomslang, the tree snake. I just saw some of the images from it. I saw a little bit of it. It was absolutely amazing. I just have to say again, Brent, awesome job, and also Jeandre did an exceptional job in showing that to you visually. Those of you that saw it would know what I'm talking about. It was beautiful. Really showing how long that tail is. Longer proportionately to the body compared to the rock monitor, because these guys are very good swimmers. Both Nile and rock monitors can swim, but obviously these guys would be a bit better at it. I think this weather is also good for this lizard. It's still a nice hot day, so plenty of energy, but this bit of overcast weather may be potentially bringing out all kinds of food. And these guys would eat almost anything. I mean, they like small dragons, really. They would catch insects and small vertebrates and invertebrates. Bird's nest with the egg in it, if they can get to it, they would eat that. They eat crocodile eggs quite often. Not here so much because of not so many crocodiles, but on permanent river systems like rivers and big lakes, they would be one of the main threats, if you want, for crocodile eggs and even very small crocodiles probably. Well, this monitor is moving away. I think he knows the rain is coming, and I think we're starting to feel very similar as well. We're not far from camp. James is a bit further away with the lions, so enjoy your possibly last part of the drive with James for now.
Right, back at the lions. That isn't Junior, that's one of his aunties, I think. She's not too young. Anyway, like I was saying, quickly, we're not going to spend too long here. The lightning is starting to crackle overhead. There is a cloud that looks like hail to me, so I'm going to quickly finish Junior's story. There, that funny whitish green thing there looks a bit dangerous to me. Anyway, we're going to amble slowly towards home, but just before we do that, let me finish Junior's story. Junior, like I say, 3.5 to 4 years old, started to mate with his mother and his sister. Now, in human society, of course, that is considered quite possibly the most offensive thing imaginable. In lion and leopard and feline society, it's really not considered too bad. Well, I don't think they consider it at all, to be honest. But it can take up to 6 generations before there's an issue with any kind of genetic defect or... look at that, look how she's rolled over. Or mutation, any kind of genetic mutations that could cause a problem. Now, a very good question from Stella, and I don't know the answer. Stella in Michigan, probably a lot colder than it is here in the northeastern corner of South Africa. On that, I'm actually going to pull out of here, guys. It's starting to look very ominous. Stella, you want to know which of these lionesses is in fact Junior's mother? I don't know, Stella. I'm not sure, but I can say that for many of our very loyal internet viewers have been watching for a very long time. They may well be able to tell us. So as we drive slowly towards home, let's ask them, and they may well be able to tell us which of those lionesses is his mother. There are only 2 kind of, I think, that are old enough. Maybe Amber Eyes, I don't think so. I think she's also slightly young. There's one quite old lioness there of about 7 years old. Oh, sorry, microphone's taking a bit of a beating from our rain gear. Hold this back, it's not heaving out of the sky just yet. I wish you could see Bryan. He looks quite ridiculous. In fact, I might try and take a picture of him while we're driving along. So Stella, I don't know which one he is, which one she is, but she might not even be there. You know, they have lost 3 lionesses this year to the Birmingham boys. We'll just take a quick picture of Bryan there. Well, not a picture. There you are. Bryan, show them what you look like. That's what Bryan looks like, everybody. Here's a zoom in. He's basically wearing a giant canvas skirt. See? There he is. He's also cooking under there, of course. It's not sort of high-tech breathable equipment we brought on. It's canvas. So he's basically boiling like a lobster until it rains, in which case he'll be very happy. Right. Excellent. This is great news. Scott and I are on the same wavelength. He wants to show you what Jeandre looks like in his rain gear. I hope they've got something big enough to cover his calves. Hitch? Yeah.
Now, you don't often get to see the cameramen, and look at how elaborately kitted our Jeandre is. If we start on his bottom left ankle, that's where his radio is strapped to. Can you believe it? He's got a massive calf above that, then a moon bag filled with all kinds of toys, the camera, his hat, the earpiece, and I'm going to take a chance and show you. I know the glare might be bad. There's the antenna. And now it's time to take a closer look at the cloudies that are out to the western horizon. I'm sure you all enjoyed that view of Jeandre, though. And interesting that James had done just the same thing with Bryan before. Oh, isn't this incredible? Massive clouds building to the west, and as Jeandre pans across and zooms out, you're going to get a good idea of where the danger is coming from. It's from further south of where that sun is setting to the west, and look at what is on the way. That is a serious, serious storm. There's lightning coming through now that you may have seen, and Jeandre and I thankfully aren't too far from the vehicle. And the vehicle that we left is not too far from camp. Oh, another bolt. I don't know if you got that. It is. Oh, there we go. You got that one. Awesome. Okay, well, we're not going to waste any time and start marching back to the vehicle, and we're going to send you back to James.
Well, there you are. You saw Jeandre's calves. I mean, quite possibly the most impressive things in the low-veld at the moment. And how he lugs those things around, I couldn't possibly tell you. Myself, I have got the calves of the blacksmith plover. So we've left the lions. I was just saying to Bryan, you know what, it probably won't rain at all. But as you've seen that lightning with Jeandre and Scott, you can see that there is something brewing up here, and there's some very odd shapes to those clouds that make me think of ice and snow. There we go, we're just moving a bug off the lens. That's Bryan's finger. I've seen Jeandre's calves, and I've seen Bryan's finger. Bryan, what else do you have to show us? There we go, the thumb. It's the most famous thumb in the Lowveld. Very astute question coming from Washington State. We'll just do a little wee. I'm just going to drive you onto quarantine clearings with a look at so you can look at that lightning. We don't want to be more than a minute from home at this stage of the game. Lael in Washington, very good question that you've asked. Lael, you want to know about cheetah, why we don't see them or where they are, and do the lions keep them out? Very astute question. Lael, the lions do keep cheetah out of an area. The concentration of lions will definitely reduce the cheetah. But cheetah are nomadic. And, you know, Juma for almost 2 weeks now. I mean, this is the first day. So last 2 days we've had lions on the reserve. But for about 2 weeks before that, we didn't have lions. Now, if the habitat was good for cheetah, then they would be around. But you can see that it's quite closed woodland, and they like open spaces where they can run at that incredible speed to chase down their prey, which in this case would probably be things like an impala, steenbok, duiker, and the smaller antelope. Ooh, this is going to be a big storm. All right, everybody, we're going off to an advert break. We'll see you when you get back, hopefully without being wet. Right, apparently, everybody, we're getting the orders from on high that we need to wrap up and go home. I mean, again, it does feel like we're being a bit chicken. Haven't actually felt a drop of rain yet, but that lightning is getting fairly aggressive. And there's definitely something coming out of the sky there. I'm just going to get onto the clearing here, and then we'll make for home. We are in an imaginary ad break for those of you who have stuck with us. Hayden has left the tent. Pieter is still out there somewhere. Scott and Jeandre, I think, are making their way home. There, now you'll get a good idea. Let's look here. You'll see some of the lightning. You'll also see these strange kind of bulging clouds. Ooh, there's some big lightning going on here. Look how pretty that is, everybody. Okay, everybody, we're going to wrap it up for now. We've had the order from on high, and I think it's a wise one that we should head home. If it clears up, I mean, we'll go back out, probably. I don't think it's going to clear up. We just can't afford to take the risk with the big cat risk coming up. The big cat week, not the big cat risk. The big cat week coming up. Anyway, thank you for a very entertaining little job. I at least drive. I don't know how long we've been out. Probably about just over an hour, probably only.
Hour 15.
An hour and 15. So sorry it was a short one. We are going to head for home. So thank you for your patience, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. Another short one, and then we're going to do 2 more rehearsals. And from Saturday, everything will be back to normal completely, well, weather allowing, of course. So thank you, Bryan.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, Nikki, in the final control, and all the girls there doing the work that they do. And we'll hand over to Pieter to say goodbye to you. And we'll see you at 0500 in the, well, hopefully bright dawn. Bye-bye, and see you later.
Well, as you all well know, it's not that we are worried about the rain for ourselves personally, but we do have a lot of important equipment that need to show you guys important things. But look at that sky. We're driving up a hill now. Beautiful beautifully offset against this sort of light tree trunk in the front. Sorry. I haven't been driving very long, you know, it's a new thing for me. But beautiful sky, but this is not only bringing rain, the fact that it's bringing hail means that it could actually be a little bit uncomfortable, potentially dangerous even for us as well. There's nothing here to cover us other than our hats and a rain jacket. So we are going to move back towards camp. I do think we have a few minutes left. So we're going to just take a nice, easy drive. You might as well stick with us. And so I'm just thinking which way to go. I might actually go back around Buffelshoek Dam. So yeah, we might as well stick around a bit. Worst case scenario, it starts raining and we run for camp. And then we'll say cheers in a hurried, laughing way. So, and it's interesting what different light does. Sorry, maybe this is just me now. This tree trunk, I mean, we see this often. We've seen birds in this. I know I've talked about oxpeckers and things, but just look at, maybe it's because of the background, because of the color. But it's almost like these different steel grays that you get. I was looking at this piece of the trunk lower down where you've got that beautiful black color and the different grays in the tree trunk. I think it's just highlighted by the fact that we have a lot of those colors reflected in the sky as well. I love big storms. Yeah, I grew up, maybe because I grew up in the desert, but I know that all the guys out here as well, guys and girls, I mean that generically, love rainstorms. There's just something exciting about what that brings to the bush. If it rains tonight, tomorrow morning will be an amazing game drive no matter what happens, just because all the insects will be out and the birds will be singing, all the tracks are fresh. So rain is always a good thing. There's always something that brings excitement to camp, to any lodge. If you're ever in safari where it rains, you'll get a few guests that might be unhappy about the rain. Don't be one of those people if you go on safari. Be happy, rejoice, laugh, and enjoy the fun of it. All experiences on safari are good. And the rain certainly is a very positive one. Guys, I'm going to say goodbye. It's been a lovely afternoon. As always, thank you very much for joining us. You are what makes WildEarth what it is. And we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to close down because of this rain. Also, we have to close and shut down a bunch of electric equipment back in the control room. So let's keep everything safe because we're going to do this again tomorrow, as I'm sure you fully understand. From myself, Pieter, and from Wium in the vehicle, Nikki, Tara, everyone in the control room. Great drive. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.